When you want to capture the attention of a woman on a level deeper than just surface attraction, the very first step is to recognize her mind. Far too many men lean on the same tired compliment about appearance, repeating lines about how beautiful she is, how stunning her smile is, or how gorgeous her eyes are. While these words may feel flattering for a moment, they often fade just as quickly as they are spoken, because every woman has already heard them 100 times before. What leaves a lasting impression is when someone acknowledges the intelligence, creativity, or depth of thought she carries within her. When you highlight the way her mind works, you separate yourself from the rest. You communicate that you are not just looking at what the world can see, but you are actually observing what few people take the time to notice. Think about it. Women spend their lives being judged by how they look. From a young age, society throws expectations at them. What size they should be, how they should dress, how their hair should fall, how flawless their skin should appear. Compliments about beauty are fleeting, and while they can feel good, they don't reach the heart. But when you acknowledge her ability to analyze the situation, to come up with creative solutions, to articulate her thoughts with clarity, you are stepping into a completely different space. You are sending a message that you see her as more than just a body, more than just a face, more than just the external presentation. You are validating her intellect, and that validation strikes at the very core of her self-worth. Imagine sitting across from a woman and instead of saying, "You look amazing tonight," you lean in and say, "I really admire how you explained that idea earlier. The way you broke it down was so clear." Suddenly, the conversation changes. Her posture shifts. She feels seen in a way she doesn't often get to experience. Most men overlook this dimension because they are too busy chasing the shallow forms of flattery. But the man who recognizes her intelligence speaks to a layer of her being that is both sacred and often hidden. He touches the part of her that longs to be respected, understood, and admired for more than just what the mirror reflects. Every woman, no matter her background, wants to know that her thoughts hold value. She wants to know that when she speaks, her words are not just heard but absorbed. When you compliment her insight, when you remark on her creativity, or when you acknowledge her ability to handle challenges with wisdom, you are feeding her spirit. You are letting her know that her mind matters just as much as her appearance. And when a woman feels that you respect her thoughts, she begins to feel a deep connection forming. Attraction built on physical compliments is temporary, but attraction built on intellectual recognition grows stronger with time. This is why it's so important to move beyond the obvious. It's easy to say, "You're beautiful," but it takes awareness and attentiveness to say, "I love how you always find a way to bring a new perspective into conversations." It takes intention to notice when she carefully considers her choices or when she shares an observation that others might dismiss. And it takes a higher level of consciousness to realize that in a world constantly telling her she is only as valuable as her beauty, your words can become the rare reminder that she is valuable for the depth of her mind. Complimenting her intellect doesn't mean you need to speak like a scholar or analyze every sentence she says. It means you pay attention. You listen with the intention to understand. You notice when she has a sharp sense of humor, and instead of just laughing, you let her know how quick-witted she is. You notice when she takes a complex issue and simplifies it, and you let her know how impressive her clarity is. You notice when she brings wisdom from her own experiences, and you let her know how much you admire the strength of her perspective. These are the kinds of compliments that echo in her mind long after you've left the room, because they affirm something much deeper than beauty. They affirm identity, value, and capability. And here's the truth: when you compliment a woman's mind, you are not just making her feel good, you are creating an energy exchange. She feels uplifted, but she also feels drawn to you because you are elevating her. You are not lowering her to the level of objectification. You are raising her to the level of recognition. This makes you rare, and rarity is magnetic. In a sea of men chasing the same lines, the one who notices her intellect stands apart effortlessly. Women are naturally drawn to men who see what others don't, because that recognition gives them space to be more of who they truly are. It's also important to understand that this type of compliment carries authenticity. You cannot fake it. If you are not truly listening, if you are not truly interested, your words will fall flat. But when you genuinely notice something powerful in her thinking and you articulate it with sincerity, she feels the truth in your voice. That sincerity builds trust, and trust is the foundation of attraction. Compliments rooted in honesty are timeless because they don't just stroke the ego, they resonate with the soul. So when you open your mouth, don't just let empty flattery spill out. Tune in. Pay attention to the way she reasons through her challenges, the way she offers advice, the way she notices things in her environment. Find the beauty in her mental process and let her know how much you admire it. When you do this, you unlock a doorway into her heart that beauty alone can never reach. Because at the end of the day, physical attraction can get your foot in the door, but intellectual recognition is what keeps that door open wide. There is something profoundly magnetic about recognizing, appreciating the energy a woman carries into any space she enters. While physical beauty can catch the eye for a moment, it is her presence, her aura, and the unique vibration she brings with her that truly captivates the soul. Every woman carries an energy signature, a frequency that is felt before a single word leaves her mouth. When you learn to acknowledge and compliment that presence, You are no longer playing at the shallow level where most people operate. You are speaking to the invisible qualities that make her unforgettable. The truth is, people may forget what was said, but they will never forget how they felt around someone. So when you notice the way her energy shifts a room and you give word to that recognition, you are giving her a gift that few others even know how to offer. Think about the difference between someone saying, "You look nice," and someone saying, "There's just something about the way you walked in, the atmosphere changed." The first is generic, predictable, and disposable. The second is unforgettable because it places value on the intangible, on something she cannot simply paint on her face or hang in her closet. Her presence is hers alone, cultivated by the way she carries herself, the light she gives off, and the frequency she vibrates on. When you compliment that essence, you are telling her that you see beyond what most see. You recognize the unspoken power she holds. That's a rare kind of validation, and rarity always draws attention. What makes this so impactful is that energy is something women feel deeply connected to. Many women are highly intuitive. They sense vibes, atmospheres, moods, and emotional undercurrents. So when you mirror back to her the very thing she is already aware of within herself, it resonates. It feels authentic because she knows in her heart that her presence is not just physical, but spiritual. She knows that her energy has the power to comfort, to inspire, to calm, or to ignite passion. And when you compliment her on that, you are affirming what she already knows yet rarely hears voiced aloud. That affirmation builds a bridge between you and her that others will never walk across because they don't even see it exists. Imagine sitting with her in conversation and instead of pointing out the obvious about her appearance, you tell her, "You have a way of making this whole place feel lighter, like your presence shifts everything around you." Those words pierce deeper than any compliment about beauty ever could because they affirm not what she has, but what she is. Beauty fades, style changes, trends move on, but presence is eternal. Presence is the invisible fingerprint she leaves on every moment, and when you notice it, you are honoring her essence. That kind of acknowledgement plants a seed of attraction that grows roots in her heart and mind. This also speaks to the fact that every woman wants to feel significant without having to perform for attention. Compliments about physical traits often feel transactional. They suggest that her worth comes from how much effort she put into her makeup, her outfit, or her body. But when you recognize her energy, you're telling her that she doesn't have to try. It's simply who she is. She doesn't need to add anything, adjust anything, or put on a show. Just by existing, by showing up, she brings something valuable to the table. That creates a deep sense of comfort and belonging because you are appreciating the most natural and unforced part of her. The man who recognizes this presence becomes unforgettable because he gives her what the world denies her. Acknowledgement of her invisible power. Most people are so caught up in the noise of life that they don't stop to feel the atmosphere around them. They miss the subtle warmth in her laughter, the calm in her silence, the vibrancy in her movement. But the man who pays attention, the one who notices how her energy shifts the people near her, is the one who gains her trust and admiration. She begins to associate you with awareness, depth, and sensitivity. And sensitivity in this sense is not weakness. It is strength because it shows you are attuned to things most people overlook. Energy is not just about positivity either. It can be about intensity, passion, drive, or even stillness. Maybe her energy is fiery and excites everyone in the room. Maybe her presence is calm and grounding, making others feel safe and steady. Maybe she carries a playful aura that makes everything feel lighter. Whatever it is, when you identify and give it voice, she feels seen in a way that transcends the surface. You are saying, "I notice the invisible force that defines you," and that is something no woman forgets. This level of compliment also carries with it a subtle message that you are attuned enough to pick up on energy, which means you operate at a higher level of awareness. This makes you stand out instantly because it suggests that you are not distracted by superficial things. You are not just passing through life looking with your eyes. You are experiencing life with your spirit. That signals to her that you are a man of depth, a man who can connect beyond appearances, and that makes you incredibly attractive. So when you find yourself in her presence, tune in. Don't just see the clothes, the makeup, the smile. Feel the atmosphere. Notice how she changes the environment simply by existing within it. Notice how people respond different when she's around. Pay attention to how her laughter fills the air, how her silence speaks volumes, how her vibe lingers even after she leaves. Then put it into words, not in a rehearsed or poetic way, but in a way that feels genuine and natural. Let her know that her energy has impact. Let her know that her presence is powerful. Let her know that she doesn't just walk into a room, she transforms it. There is an undeniable power in showing genuine appreciation for a woman's effort and drive. Too often, compliments get trapped in the shallow lane of looks or charm. And while those things can be noticed, they do not carry the same depth as acknowledging the discipline, determination, and persistence she pours into her life. When you take the time to recognize her ambition, the way she handles responsibilities, or the way she chases after her goals, you are validating something far more personal than appearance. You are affirming the sweat, sacrifice, and strength that most people overlook. A compliment about beauty is easy to give, but a compliment about effort requires you to truly see her, to pay attention to what she is building and how much of herself she invests in it. That kind of recognition touches her spirit because it acknowledges the hours behind the scenes, the battles she fights silently, and the resilience that shapes her character. Imagine a woman who is pushing herself through school, building her career, or managing the complexities of life while still showing up for her family and friends. She pours so much of herself into her journey, yet rarely does someone stop and acknowledge that effort. People see the results, a good grade, a promotion, a polished presentation, but they don't always notice the long nights, the self-doubt she pushed past, the time she kept going when it would have been easier to quit. When you look at her and say, I really admire how hard you work and how you never give up on what you believe in, you are speaking directly into her soul. You are recognizing the hidden battles. And that makes your words carry a weight that cannot be ignored. Every woman has dreams, whether they are tied to her career, her passions, her family, or her personal growth. Dreams take energy, focus, and courage. Complimenting her ambition is not about praising the end result, but about respecting the process. You let her know that you see the fire in her, the way she keeps showing up no matter what obstacles stand in her path. That recognition makes her feel valued in a world that often expects her to give endlessly without acknowledgement. It shows her that you are not just impressed by what she achieved, but by who she becomes in the process of achieving. Think about how rare that kind of compliment is. Most people comment on the obvious, but very few highlight the unseen effort. When you tell her, I admire your consistency, or the dedication you put into your work is inspiring, you are giving her fuel. You are reminding her that her hard work is noticed, that her sacrifices are not invisible, and that her resilience is worthy of respect. This type of compliment does more than make her feel good. It empowers her because it reinforces the very qualities that make her strong and unstoppable. This level of appreciation also communicates that you understand the value of growth and perseverance, and that aligns you with her deeper values. A woman who is driven does not want to be with someone who only notices what is on the surface. She wants someone who recognizes the vision she carries and the grit it takes to pursue it. When you compliment her effort, you're telling her that you are tuned into the deeper story of her life. You're saying, I see the strength you bring to your journey and I respect it. That kind of message builds trust, admiration, and attraction all at once. Because it shows her that you don't just want her for who she is today. You respect the journey she's on toward who she is becoming. There's another layer to this that often goes unspoken. Many women are criticized for being ambitious, for being too driven, for wanting more out of life. Society sometimes tells them to shrink, to be less, to quiet their goals. So when you step into her world and say, your determination inspires me, you are not just complimenting her, you are affirming her right to be everything she dreams of. You are standing against the voices that try to minimize her, and instead, you are amplifying the greatness she carries within. That kind of encouragement is rare, and it bonds her to you because she feels supported rather than judged. Complimenting her effort can be as simple as acknowledging the discipline she shows in her daily life. It can be about her dedication to fitness, her persistence in her studies, her commitment to her passions, or even the way she shows up consistently for the people she loves. It's about tuning into what drives her and letting her know you respect it. Those words act like water to a plant. They nourish her motivation and make her feel valued in ways that compliments about beauty never could. She begins to associate you with empowerment, with someone who adds strength to her journey, rather than someone who only seeks to take from it. And here is where the attraction deepens. A woman who feels seen for her effort begins to see you as someone who understands her essence. You are no longer just another man trying to flatter her. You become the man who recognizes the fire in her soul. That recognition makes her feel safe to continue growing, because she knows she is admired not just for what she looks like, but for the relentless spirit she carries inside. It makes her feel that with you, she can be fully herself, unafraid of being too much, because you have already made it clear that her ambition is not intimidating, it's inspiring. There is a quiet but powerful art in noticing the details that most people overlook, and when you master that, you stand out instantly in the eyes of a woman. The majority of men focus on broad strokes. They mention her beauty in general terms, they compliment her smile or her dress, but they never take the time to pay attention to the small things that actually define her uniqueness. A woman pours her personality into details, the way she styles her hair a certain way, the subtle choice of colors she wears, the little phrases she uses, the tone she carries when she tells a story, the sparkle in her eyes when she talks about something she loves. These small details may seem insignificant on the surface, but they are the very things that make her who she is. When you recognize and speak to those details, you are telling her, I see you, not just the surface version of you, but the essence that lives beneath. That kind of recognition is rare. And because it is rare, it becomes unforgettable. Imagine the difference between saying, you look nice, and saying, I love the way you paired that color with your earrings. It really brings out your personality. One is generic and disappears in seconds. The other shows attentiveness, observation, and thought. Women crave to be seen for who they truly are, not just for the obvious features everyone else can point out. When you notice the little things, you are separating yourself from the crowd. You are showing that you are present in the moment with her, tuned into her individuality. Most men rush through conversations, distracted, thinking about themselves. But the man who pays attention to detail creates an atmosphere where she feels valued. It goes beyond clothing or style. It is about recognizing her habits, her quirks, her passions. Maybe she always orders her coffee a certain way. Maybe she taps her fingers when she's deep in thought. Maybe she always lights up when talking about a certain subject. Most people let those little things slide by without a word. But when you take a moment to highlight them with a compliment, I like how passionate you get when you talk about the things you love. It's contagious. Suddenly she realizes you're not just hearing her, you're listening. You're not just looking at her, you're seeing her. That difference makes all the impact in the world because women are used to being overlooked in ways they will never say out loud. What makes this kind of compliment so powerful is that it requires presence. You cannot fake noticing details. You actually have to pay attention. You have to slow down enough to observe. And in a world full of distraction, being present is the greatest gift you can give. When she feels that you are truly present with her, she feels valued, respected, and safe. Complimenting the overlooked details tells her that she doesn't need to shout for attention. She doesn't need to exaggerate who she is. You already see the small, beautiful elements that make her unique. That builds a sense of intimacy because intimacy is born from feeling deeply known. There is also an element of care embedded in this practice. When you notice small things, you are indirectly communicating that you care enough to study her, to understand her beyond surface level attraction. That creates a sense of importance in her heart because she begins to feel that with you. She doesn't blend into the background. She feels prioritized even in subtle ways. Women associate that kind of recognition with trust, and trust naturally fuels attraction. She starts to believe that if you can see the details about her that others ignore, then maybe you can also see her deeper needs, her emotions, her desires. That assumption makes her feel understood in advance, and understanding is one of the deepest forms of connection you can create. Think about the psychology here when you notice what most people miss. You establish yourself as a man of awareness, a man of depth. You show that you are not easily distracted, that you value quality over quantity, and that you can slow down enough to appreciate what is often invisible to others. That communicates leadership and strength because awareness is not weakness. It is the sharpest form of intelligence. Women instinctively respond to men who can see beneath the surface because they know that such men are capable of more than shallow interactions. They sense the potential for depth, and depth is where attraction transforms into connection. Complimenting the details can be incredibly simple but profoundly effective. Instead of saying, "You look nice," you might say, "The way you braid your hair really shows off your creativity." Instead of saying, "That's a good story," you might say, "I love how you always find the funniest angle when you tell a story." Instead of saying, "That's a nice outfit," you might say, "You always have this effortless way of putting things together that really shows your personality." These aren't rehearsed lines. They're authentic observations. They work because they come from awareness, not from trying too hard to impress. And here's the key: when you compliment a detail, you make her feel special because you are pointing out something others missed. It's the same reason people treasure rare gems, because rarity holds value. She begins to feel that you are not just interested in her for generic reasons, but for the specific one of kind things that make her who she is. That realization opens her heart because every person longs to be valued not as one of many, but as the only one. Complimenting the overlooked details gives her that gift, and in doing so, it draws her toward you with a natural pull. One of the deepest compliments you can ever give a woman is to celebrate her kindness and compassion, because at the core of who she is, beyond her looks, beyond her style, beyond her ambition, lies the way she treats people and the energy she pours in the world. Women are naturally nurturing, naturally giving, and often their acts of kindness go unnoticed or unappreciated because society tends to value results and appearances over the quiet power of compassion. When you acknowledge her heart, when you let her know that her empathy, her generosity, or the way she uplifts others has not gone unseen, you are touching her at the most sacred level of her identity. You are saying, "I see the love you carry. I see the way you pour yourself into others. And I admire that about you." That kind of recognition goes beyond attraction. It resonates with her soul. Think about how many times she has gone out of her way to make someone else's life a little easier, a little brighter, a little lighter. Maybe she takes care of her family without asking for anything in return. Maybe she comforts her friends when they're down, even when she's struggling herself. Maybe she extends patience and understanding to people who don't always deserve it. Those acts of kindness are often invisible to the world because they don't come with applause, but they are what define her character. When you notice them and give voice to them, you are telling her that her love is valuable, that her compassion makes a difference, that her ability to care deep is not just expected but admired. That recognition has the power to create an instant bond because it tells her that you see what truly matters. Kindness is not something you can fake, and that's what makes it so special. A compliment about beauty might feel good, but it could be given to anyone who meets a certain standard. A compliment about style is nice, but again, it could be repeated to 100 others. But when you tell her, "The way you treat people is incredible," You always make others feel so valued. You are highlighting something unique to her. Her compassion is a reflection of her heart, her experiences, and her choices. It's not manufactured. It's not borrowed. It's hers. That makes your words deeply personal because you are complimenting not what she has, but who she is. This kind of compliment also creates a sense of safety. A woman who hears that her kindness is valued feels safe to continue being herself. She doesn't feel like she needs to hide her softness or her nurturing side of fear of being taken advantage of because you have made it clear that you respect it. That safety is powerful because safety leads to trust and trust leads to deeper connection. When a woman feels she can trust you with her heart, she naturally becomes more open, more vulnerable, and more willing to let you into her world. Complimenting her compassion builds that trust because it proves that you are paying attention, not just to what she shows the world, but to the love she gives the world. There is also something incredibly attractive about compassion when it's genuinely acknowledged. Strength is magnetic, but strength paired with kindness is irresistible. When you say, "I admire how you always look out for others," you are not just admiring her kindness. You are admiring the strength it takes to keep giving in a world that often takes without giving back. You are honoring the courage behind compassion because kindness is not weakness. It is power under control. By recognizing that, you make her feel both strong and cherished at the same time. And that combination creates a powerful emotional connection. Complimenting her compassion also sets you apart because so few people do it. Most compliments are shallow, aimed at the surface. But when you go deeper, when you point out the love she carries inside, you separate yourself from every man who ever thought a generic, "You're beautiful," would be enough. You become the man who noticed the way she comforted someone. The man who saw how she went out of her way to include someone who felt left out. The man who recognized the way her presence made others feel safe. She won't forget that because being recognized for your heart is far rarer and far more meaningful than being recognized for your looks. Another dimension of this is that women often carry invisible burdens. They give endlessly, but they don't always get recognition in return. Complimenting her kindness becomes more than just words. It becomes healing. It reminds her that her efforts are seen, that her sacrifices are not invisible, and that her compassion matters. You are essentially saying, "I see you, and what you do for others is not unnoticed." That validation can shift how she feels, not only about you, but about herself. It strengthens her confidence in her own goodness and deepens her respect for you as someone who values what is truly important. It's important to be specific in these kinds of compliments because specificity makes them feel genuine. Instead of saying, "You're nice," which sounds generic and shallow, you could say, "I really admire the way you always make people feel comfortable. You have a gift for putting others at ease." Instead of saying, "You're kind," you could say, "The way you checked in on your friend earlier shows how thoughtful you are, and that really stood out to me." Specific compliments show that you're not just throwing words into the air. You are actually paying attention, noticing, and appreciating her actions in real time. That level of attention makes her feel deeply valued. And what happens when you make a woman feel that her kindness is seen and admired? She associates you with positivity, with light, with someone who lifts her up instead of draining her. She feels drawn to you because you give her the one thing she craves but rarely receives recognition for the love she puts into the world. That kind of compliment doesn't just attract her. It creates an emotional anchor that keeps her connected to you long after the words are spoken. There is something incredibly powerful about acknowledging a woman's growth and potential because it tells her that you are not only seeing who she is in this moment, but you are also recognizing the journey she has been on and the greatness that lies ahead of her. Too often people get stuck in praising what is visible right now. They say she's beautiful. They say she's talented. They say she's impressive. But very few take the time to look deeper and say, "I see how far you've come. And I can only imagine how much further you're going to go." That kind of recognition ignites something inside her because it shows her that you are not just fixated on the present. You are invested in her future. You are telling her that her growth matters, that her evolution is valuable, and that she is becoming more every single day. Every woman has a story of battles fought, lessons learned, and progress made. Sometimes it's obvious in the way she carries herself. Other times it's hidden beneath the surface, known only to her. Maybe she overcame insecurities once held her back. Maybe she pushed through challenges that no one else even knew she was facing. Maybe she is constantly working to better herself, reading, learning, healing, striving to step into a higher version of who she is. When you notice that and you give voice to it, you are shining a light on her resilience. You're saying, I see that you're not standing still, you're growing. And that inspires me. That acknowledgement is rare because most people only compliment what they immediately see, not the invisible effort of growth and transformation. Complimenting her potential is just as powerful because it communicates faith in who she is becoming. Everyone wants to be believed in. And when you tell her, "I can see you doing even greater things in the future," or "You have so much inside you that the world hasn't even seen yet," you're offering her a vision of herself that expands beyond her current reality. You are speaking possibility into her life, and that is one of the most attractive things you can ever do. Belief is magnetic. When someone believes in you, you naturally feel drawn to them because they give you strength and confidence. So when you highlight her potential, you're not just complimenting her, you're empowering her to step into a larger version of herself. This type of compliment is also incredibly intimate because it requires observation and depth. To see growth, you have to notice changes over time. To see potential, you have to look beyond what's in front of you and sense what lies within her. It means you are paying attention not just to how she looks, but to how she evolves, how she responds to challenges, how she keeps pushing forward. That kind of attentiveness makes her feel profoundly seen. She realizes that you don't just see her as static or one-dimensional. You see her as a dynamic being, always unfolding, always becoming. That level of recognition creates an emotional closeness that shallow compliments could never touch. Think about how powerful it feels when someone says, "You've grown so much. I can see how much stronger and more confident you've become." Those words validate the inner battle she's fought, the fears she's conquered, the steps she's taken. They let her know that her efforts have not been in vain, that the changes she's worked so hard to create are noticeable and admirable. Or imagine saying, "You have this potential in you that's going to take you so far. I can see it every time you talk about your dreams." That statement does more than flatter. It uplifts. It plants seeds of belief that may grow inside her for years, long after you've said the words. A woman who feels her growth and potential are recognized also begins to feel that you are someone who can walk with her on her journey. She associates you with progress, with encouragement, with expansion. You are no longer just a man who notices her beauty. You become the man who sees her destiny. That changes everything because attraction built on physical traits can fade. But attraction built on shared vision and belief only grows stronger with time. She begins to feel safe in the idea that with you, she won't be held back or diminished. Instead, she will be supported, encouraged, and inspired to keep reaching for more. There's also a deep emotional nourishment in this type of compliment because growth is often uncomfortable, lonely, and unseen. Many of the steps she takes toward becoming a better version of herself happen in silence when no one is watching. So when you notice it, it fills her with validation. It tells her the work you've been doing matters and someone sees it. That kind of acknowledgement has the power to fuel her even further because it reminds her that her transformation has value, not just for herself, but in the eyes of others. Complimenting her growth and potential is like giving her wings. It reassures her that the path she's on is leading somewhere meaningful. And the beauty of this kind of compliment is that it never expires. Looks may change, circumstances may shift, but growth and potential are eternal. She will always be evolving, always becoming, always striving toward the next level of herself. So when you anchor your compliments in that, you are aligning yourself with something timeless. You are telling her that no matter what stage she's in, you will always see her for who she is and who she can be. That kind of recognition doesn't just attract a woman. It earns her respect, her admiration, and her trust because it shows her that you have the vision to see beyond today into the unlimited possibilities of tomorrow.